page 71 in the electronic version, section 5.4. Membranes are characteristics of both epithelial tissue and connective tissue. So make sure you get that down. There are three major types of these, and they're all considered to be epithelial membranes. Number one are serous membranes. Serous, S-E-R-O-U-S. These line the body cavities that do not open to the outside. The body cavities that do not open to the outside. So like the abdomen, the thorax, it's generally just going to be a simple squamous epithelial layer. These cells secrete what we call serous fluid, and that's a watery substance that helps with lubrication. Mucous membranes. These line the cavities and tubes that open to the outside. So the nose, the mouth, the respiratory system as a whole, the lungs, the bronchia, the trachea, the urinary system, the genitalia, the digestive system, esophagus, stomach, small and large intestine. And this is a layer of epithelium with overlaying a layer of areolar connective tissue. So it's actually both types of tissue.
So you said they do open to the outside?
Yes, they do. These are generally going to be simple or stratified squamous or pseudostratified columnar. In the intestines, you'll find simple columnar. And then the final one is the cutaneous membrane. Does anybody know what that is? Clearly, you all are not doing the reading. I guess we will have to start quizzes. It's the skin. The skin. Okay, muscle tissue. This is our third of the four types. The main thing to remember about muscle tissue, it is excitable. It is excitable. That means it can be stimulated. You get a direct response from a direct stimulation. What happens when stimulated, the muscle cells contract. They contract. This allows the generation of force. This allows for the generation of force. You've essentially got three flavors of this. First is skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle. Alone, that makes up about 40% of your body mass. It's called striated muscle sometimes because it has striations. They look like stripes under the microscope. You've already seen this. These cells are very long and narrow. And they're multinucleate. That means they have more than one nucleus. The reason for that is efficiency of transcription. Efficiency. It would be like putting up 8 or 9 new libraries here on campus. If I had everybody going into the library and reading the exact same thing, having 8 or 9 of them would be a help, wouldn't it? It's just faster. These are also voluntary. That means you have control over when and how they are used. They're called skeletal because they're generally attached to the skeleton. And as a result, they are capable of generating a lot of force. They can generate a lot of force. As to where you find them, pretty much throughout the whole body. Next up, we've got smooth muscle. These lack the striations, so you won't see any stripes in them. They're shorter than the skeletal muscle, and they're not multinucleate. They are normal. They only have one nucleus. And what they do is they push essentially in a wave-like motion, or they contract. You'll find these in the walls of hollow internal organs, the stomach, intestines, esophagus, the bladder, the uterus, and finally in blood vessels. These are not as strong as the skeletal muscle. They generate less force. And they are not autonomic. They do not have any control that you are aware of. It just happens. That's good for certain processes and not good for others. Food moves through you at its own speed. But you can't will yourself to digest faster or move things out. Everybody see how that goes? And then the final type is cardiac muscle. These cells look very similar to what you find in the skeletal muscle. They are striated. However, they also branch, joined end to end, and they have a single nucleus. They are also completely involuntary. Trust me when I say this, you do not want that heart to stop beating. 0 of 5 stars, do not recommend. The main thing to get here is it has characteristics of both of the other two. Single nucleus and involuntary, but it looks very much like striated muscle. probably the most powerful muscle in the body, which makes sense when you consider the job it has to do. Any questions? So, the purpose of each skeletal muscle is to generate force for movement. Smooth muscle is to move things in and out of a system. And finally, cardiac muscle has one function, and that is to pump blood. To pump blood. Everybody got that? Next up, we have nervous tissue. Nervous tissue. The main bunch of this will be found in two locations. One is the brain, the other is the spinal cord. Together, those two are called the central nervous system, or CNS. So make sure you get that down. However, you also have these long, thin things called nerves that extend throughout the body. Pretty much just about every tissue you have is innervated. Everybody clear on that? There are a few things that you don't, but generally it's something you have control over. All right, so the main type of cell in nervous tissue is going to be the neuron, N-E-U-R-O-N, the neuron. Neurons have a unique structure. They have a cell body that has little processes sticking off from it. Those little branching processes, if they're short and located near the cell body, they're called dendrites. It has a long process coming out from the cell body that is called the axon. The dendrites act as receivers. They act as receivers. The axon is essentially the transmitter. So the nerve impulse comes into the dendrite and excites the neuron. It excites the neuron. Just like we said muscle cells are excitable, neurons are excitable. Yes?
You said the degenerates were receivers and then the axon were the...
Not degenerates, dendrite,
Yeah.
D-E-N-D-R-I-T-E.
What was the axon?
Transmitter. What makes nerve cells so special is not only are they excitable, but they can also stimulate other cells. Your muscles, other neurons, you get the idea. The only function of a neuron is to transmit information. It can be a stimulus from the outside going in. It can be something that you are sending out.
Did you say it was to transmit information or?
Transmit.
Okay.
Everybody with me? You'll find them everywhere. And it's very important that they do their job. Because if you don't have that occur, then you get all kinds of misfirings, numbness, loss of motor control. You get an idea? There are a lot of diseases of the central nervous system or syndromes that can cause degeneration is the only word I can give for it. Has anybody ever interacted with somebody who had dementia? It's a very difficult process, isn't it? They live in the moment, and that moment may not be in the same time and place as you are. My father had Parkinson's disease, and for whatever reason, he totally would ignore anything my mom said. But if I said it, he would follow along and do it. But he got up at 3 or 4 in the morning one time and started putting something on the stove and burned it. Mom wakes up to the fire alarm at 3 in the morning. Had to go in there and turn it off. You get an idea, right? His right arm shook like this. And yes, it was about the same speed I'm doing right here. It was not just a slow tremor. One time I actually got hold of his arm while he was asleep, and it was starting to do that, because I just thought I'd see if I could hold it still for him so he could sleep uninterrupted. And it was like arm wrestling a bear. He was exerting full force, and that's what Parkinson's does. So keep in mind, any kind of damage to the neurons is probably not going to be a good thing. There are also several cells that we called the neuroglia. When we get into the nervous system proper, we'll start talking about the different types of those. But for right now, we'll just call them the neuroglia. They hold the nervous tissue together. They bind it. They also support it with nutrients, growth factors. Essentially, they're kind of the go-between between the nervous tissue and a blood vessel. Any questions about tissues? Are we all on board the bus? Okay, that's it for chapter 5. Several of you have expressed a desire to have a bit more lab time. How many of you would like to have some extra lab time today to study? Hands up. Okay, if we go in there now, we would be in there about 2 hours. Is that too long for you all? You're certain? Thumbs up if you're certain. Okay, then we'll go in there and we will study.